We had this idea of what our life was going to be. But God had a different plan. So Jess and I met in our youth group at our church in 2001. We actually started dating in 2005, and we quickly hit it off, but I quickly started to realize that we were very different people.
Our home dynamics were very different growing up, and so we were different people. But I think that's what intrigued us the most about each other. It was kind of a challenge.
So on August 15th, 2009, we decided to get married. And I think it was the best decision we ever made other than salvation. We've really just enjoyed our lives and enjoyed our marriage. And it's crazy because we're still very different, but I think we fill in each other's pieces. My weaknesses are her strengths, and her weaknesses are my strengths. And throughout this journey, we didn't quite understand what God had in store for us.
So we went on several U.S. mission trips before we got married, but it wasn't until after that we went on our first international mission trip to Peru. We completely fell in love with it, and it's something that draws us closer together that's really unexplainable. Our fourth trip was to Bulgaria. We not only fell in love with the people and the children of Bulgaria, but we also fell in love with the mission set in place for Bulgaria and the Roma people.
So 8 years later, here we are, married, loving life, loving flexibility, loving just it being the two of us. And I think just having this time together has created a very strong bond and passion between us.
Yeah, so our ministry for missions and for spreading God's love, not only here but in other countries as well, was what we thought our future would hold. Our ministry careers and home life were perfectly aligning, and we were completely okay with how things were. So we're in small group one night, and I hand a precious baby back to her dad and start watching them interact with each other. And I just couldn't help but start thinking about what it would be like to watch Zach become a dad. And I thought it would pass until it didn't. And it consumed me, really. I began praying to the Lord that He would reveal Himself to me, and also reminded Him that I always asked for Him to come down from heaven and stand in front of me and say, "It's time for you to have children," so that I would know that it was His plan and not mine. But this time I asked Him to reveal it through Zach. I wanted Zach to be able to come to me without knowing that I was thinking about any of this, and bring the subject up first so that I would know without doubt, never thinking that that would actually happen. And so I kept all these prayers and thoughts to myself for most of the week. Zach and I had a really busy week, and so we had not had time to sit down and talk about anything until that Thursday.
So Thursday rolled around, and we sat down and ate dinner and talked about the week and got caught up on some things. And as we were finishing dinner, I just really felt compelled to ask Jessica what we were going to do about this kid thing. And
yeah, I started grinning ear to ear and asked him what he meant by that.
And so I started to tell my side of the story. So the Sunday night before a small group, we were me and a friend were in the kitchen making our plates for dinner, and Jessica walks by with a baby, and I didn't really think anything of it. And my friend looked at me and says, "Well, it's about time y'all had one of those, ain't it?" And I was kind of taken back by it, because you can imagine we've been married for 8 years. We've heard that 100 times, and for some reason that night it just hit me in a different way. I mean, it just impacted me in a way that I wasn't sure about, and so I couldn't get it off my mind. We had a late night that night, came home, went to sleep. So the next day I wake up and I'm heading off to work, and I have this daydream as I'm driving of me playing in the yard with a child, and it was my child, and something about it just felt right, and I knew that was the point that I wanted to be a father.
So as we're sitting there at the table, I look at him and I explain to him what kind of experience I'd had that week as well, and that I'd asked God to reveal this to me in this way so that I wouldn't have doubt, and he did just that. And so as we look at each other, we're just realizing that he revealed all of this to us separately but at the same time, and it made us realize that our life was going to change in a big way. So we continued praying and asking God to show us how he wanted us to grow our family. And it wasn't long after that we realized that our hearts were focused on adoption.
Jessica's heart has been drawn to China for a long time, and so naturally my heart aligned with hers, and we know now why. Because God's desire for us is to adopt from China.
So here we are. We just wanted to share our story with you, and we are so excited about the journey ahead of us, and we can't wait to see what God has in store for us.
So we wanted to provide you guys with several different ways to partner with our family. One is celebration. So we want to celebrate God's goodness, faithfulness, and mercy in this process. We also love knowing we have a community behind us to help support us through this journey. Secondly, prayer. It's a huge part of this process, and we love knowing that we have support through your prayers. And thirdly, donations. We're so excited to see how God is going to provide for our adoption through your generosity. And lastly, purchase. We have created an online store for you to go on and purchase really cool items, and all the proceeds go directly towards funding our adoption.
Thank you so much in advance for your prayers and your generosity.
We cannot be more thrilled to partner with our family and friends in adopting